is the country a single kubera ne opportunities. That's why Uganda anything can be done. Fe to supporting abayimbi okuva mu buli nsi yonna. When has a Ugandan artist ever gone to any country and been supported and become a star? But every single Nigerian artist who has made it worldwide has come here before they are big, and then they get that big audience on the picture. They become big in the UK, they become big in the world. How comes it is not happening the other way around? Because it is the Ugandan who hasn't found the formula. Memucha tusko tuze mabega. Lokuba to the UK mukasenge mbunawe na analysis jowa ku Uganda ku BEBE cool. Young man and young woman enensi kumwetandika butandisi kubanga nkusubiza naka katebe ko tudde kwako botaka kozese nga brand nga atunda brand, it's not paying. Otherwise manyi wosula nebyokola nebo hasu nebo suffering ne family yo nga bwe muli sirina kyenkwegomba kera subira muvubuka yena kumugamba nti yegombe abavubuka ababiri abasatu abasiba ku TikTok nga bababuza abuzambu their lives are better. No, it's because you always keep misguiding people, because you have misguided mindsets. Mwemuchala be Bungereza na America ngebitalo, oh my God, nonya visa. I respect everyone who went to Europe and America to work. Okolaka sente ka katono okomiewo. But I disrespect everyone whose mindset is out there to make a Ugandan think it is important okuva wano okugende erimba bali eribe bakabi. How many people have been on social media here nga babagamba banange nkama yanyambe nasonze yebe nakozeza nenkoma waliwo mwami wane ya Zimba Mall bamita Bakalwa eri Haji Bakalwa eri Rudawa Kisasi. Yes, he gives you a good story about what exactly is. See Haji Bakalwa, so many people in the beginning those days it was okay because abazungu bali tebananyweza nnyo nati ngosobola okole sente zone zibera valuable no zimba wano ate ne wana Uganda ebisere ebyo matakanga bya sente ntono ebintu ebyokozesa okuzimba mayumba nga bya sente ntono. You could, but now the world is different. Today botunulira America benyini abazungu bagamba nange Africa is better than America, Uganda is better than UK, US, it is better. Naye gojja gamba nti ojja kumbuza ngoyagala kuleta mwana eno kusamba mpira. That is the petty thinking. Of course no muzungu bwe yajja wano yajja kubba nange njaga kujjayo nzibeyo kyenzibye nkize. Naye nawe bwoba ogendayo kubbayo kyobbye ozeno, not because nti yewasinga naye waliwo ekyokubbayo. Just like always the president says, even a fool can survive in Uganda. How do you tell me that's not the best place? Today, President Traore Mulaba Charike Burkina Faso. Alwana na mindset za abantu kweche chintu. Third most selling gold country. Ya kusatu mu production ya gold ANC. Augmenting over Burkina Faso to go to America for greener pastures? Really? My best person today, and I had this argument with most of my friends in the US when I went there. I told them Trump will become the president because now the world is open. The worst weapon that has been created ever in this world is called TikTok. That is the mass destruction weapon that was created, and surprisingly, not even any bright white person or any bright black person could anticipate the dangers of TikTok. TikTok is as Americans went to Iraq, pretending to look for weapons of mass destruction, a Chinese man was in America, creating the weapon of mass destruction. The weapon of mass destruction is called TikTok. By basic information, you know that information is power. And if you're an American, or if you're a European, or anyone who is in governments in Europe, you should have known that the only reason you took over the world was because information was only kept to you, by you. The second you chose to allow information to flow, now everyone has the information, so that means everyone has the power. So Traore has the power, Museveni has the power, an African in Luero, in Gulu now knows, because we get information from you. We now know the things. It's no longer like those days when you used to come and land and say, oh, I mean, there's two stations in the US. There's CNN and there's BBC. BBC is UK. There's what network is that? So you can see that all the programs that are programmed on those stations are programmed to change with a narrative, with an intended narrative. The Democrats are on this station. The Republicans are on the other one. So everyone has a way they build the mindset of their supporters to believe what they are saying. That's why at the end of the day, Trump, oh my God, all Africans must thank Trump. That's the way to think. That is how to think. I remember when he said that statement and said that it was Putin, President Putin, who said Africans live in they live in a graveyard. He commented something to do with a graveyard, but what he meant was actually very positive for us to think about. The same way Trump is making us, helping us to think. Close the funding so that I can look around myself and look for money within myself. That means you're helping me. How much funding has been stopped in Uganda? How many people have died, surely? Bobi Wine has been shouting every now and then. So many projects successfully have been closed in Uganda. People don't have jobs. Remember, from the fact that there were less jobs, the man kept on walking up and down saying they'll stop funding Uganda, and now more don't have jobs. But then guess what? When Trump stops the funding, we are now more serious on the corruption, looking for the best ways to curb corruption, looking for the best ways to look for money within ourselves so that we can be self-dependent. Kakati bw'osanga abantu abatasobola kulowooza nti ne statement gyenkola in music, or if you find people who can't think that even a single statement I make in music involves something, a narrative within the economy, political and social conversation within my head, I understand when you don't understand. That's why I say, ask, please ask. Don't just say things. Some of us have been blessed to have the reason to have the opportunity to be close to leaders. It wasn't by mistake that I looked for my way closer to the president, or I looked for my way closer to politicians and these rich people and owners of the so-called radios. I needed to understand the perspective of ownership of those properties, the perspective of sitting in those offices, the perspective of power, the perspective of finances, being rich. I needed to understand those things and relate to myself. So when you come to discuss what Bebe has said, please watch. I expect Era the good thing is abantu abasinga okubeera important. Okay, abantu benali tutemu ensa abakola analysis, they hadn't said anything because I know they watched the whole 3 hours. They did watch the whole 3 hours, so they knew the context in which I said the statement I did. But only these ones who want to impress, we are opposition. Even if you do a good song, we don't like. Even if something good happens, we don't appreciate. We already know your opposition and we don't care. We will only do one thing, make a good life for you so that you can stay alive, live well. After all, half of the opposition people here in Abalim Parliament, they are as rich as no man's business. I only feel sorry, and that's why I support Museveni, because Museveni cares about the poor person in the opposition, because he knows that that person has been misled. Here you are following a guy who definitely, you see him kneeling down in Bazungu, yet the narrative on Africa today is patriotism. Oh my goodness. And you even say, come on, the likes of Nambos, the pretenders, just because they look for office. So, and this issue, politics, it is serving people two-way. If even to be a politics, we're serving a two-way, and I'm happy that things are happening. Nemumalamu abantu abamageze ekitiibwa kati bulaba eri wali olutalo Namboze byayogedde bya kisiru nnyo. It is the most stupid thing. Lwaki temwaze kwebyo nemu correctinga Namboze muli ku BEBE kulu olwokubanga mwagala okubika ensobi za Namboze. You started that topic because Namboze had done the most stupid. Bobi Wine and Namboze this week have said the most stupid. How do you attack? How do you come and say nti Abaganda abawakyawagira Museveni muli basiru nnyo? Obuwagizi bw'omukulembeze wa Uganda buva ku Baganda oba buva ku Bannayuganda? Why is your topic always about Baganda? Can't you have common sense and see nti nekyo kikukyaya tribes endala? For us, of course, tukube engalo naye ate kinnuma nnyo kati njagala with the NRM. Gwe notamanya nti obukulembeze is not about Baganda. Otukyayisiza abantu bonna oyagala okuleeta tribalism eddemu abantu batandika okubanga batulabanga Abaganda. Tugenda kwesigala nji okula tukyuke basobola okulaba nti tuli Baganda ennyindo tuzisale ngoma zo tukyayisa. Can't you just learn that leadership is about every tribe, not one? Then nizileta Namboze mbo fe tusobola okufuna obululu Buganda ezirigion endala ne tubagana okulonda. Really? And you are a human being in Uganda here? Ye mwe abatudde mu bantu baffe wano mukulembeza. Nupu bloggers yali ekyuse mu kamwa kange kwanja nyensi yange. And I want people to understand. Now that I know the music muzibu nnyo. Ensendala zituleka. Tewali muyimbi muto agenda kusobola kukompitinga ku 11 stars are becoming a big munsi nga febe tulinda ne tuteka na lugogo ne jula yonna nga febe tulinayo waffe asobola kugenda. Kubanga kati music ali so expensive. Kati bana abaana abata baliwo banakola batya albums zino n'ennyimba ezo tebasobola balina kola kamukamu. Kati boyagala BEBE kulu ate ku ssaawa eno nga yasobola okuteekamu ku kasente ate naye aveeyo, then kati industry n'atuuka ddi okolayo album. Mweke nyini Abannayuganda mwe mubeeraawo Wizkid ayina album, Davido yatadde album. Abannayuganda muliko ki? Ne mujerega epasi yakola ka album ke mu ddiiro lye biki and you tewalina luyimba luzanya. That is you. Kakati ate bakusesinga fans esookola album ate bwagikola No, but you the young one, why can't you make one instead? It is very, very, very important for you. Mulina okufumitiriza, mulina okuyiga okufumitiriza. Mulina okuyiga okufumitiriza. Bwe mutafumitirizenga temujja kutegeeranga kiki lwaki abakola ebintu bye bakola ki bye bakola. Ate nabagambako dda omwana omuto tebusobola ku digestinga bintu kwenkana bwongo bwa muntu mukulu. Omuntu omukulu bwayogera byayogera tebabisuula mu guluka. Kivula nabakubira kamwako. Tewaliwo ne gwe nalabye yakuteeyo statement n'ateekako akayimba kaba kamwako. Kikola positive two way. Akamwako kasokuba nga kogera ebintu naye nga abantu tebabitegeera. So mwabadde bagezaako okuddira topiki ya bebe kulu mu gifuule nti ebika za neza kadingo kadingo. Actually ndowooza mulimuko ku bantu abagezaako okutegeera common sense nga bayina bamanyi okufumitiriza. Common sense nga bayina bamanyi okufumitiriza. Kachiseka nkalabe kabyogera. That's where you should point. Eyo je mulina okuti muli mu nsobi. Temuddira byaffe ebintu ebiguiding abaana why in this world would amanyi genina to see how far can we go, but the support is not putting ice cream in your mouth. You young people, the support won't come by smearing kungulumba. You need to understand it is even going to be tougher. Nalabe waliwo yakoze list y'abayimbi. Illusion in your mind, obunafu. In your mind, obunafu. Tubagamba nange. Kati ngenda bagamba ekintu. Maze emyaka mingi nga mbagamba kunjaga. Nzokola, orida bamanyiwa akabi. Bamanyiwa akabi. Get me that from. Omuntu bobanga Rastafari. Obola boline Katonda ng'otuuse oba tusobola kukola mulo oba tusobola kukola era bwe kuggwako ekibeerawo kibeera nti oba oyagala kuddayo eri ewa Katonda w'abadde atudde ng'ozzaako. I don't want to miss, but I have seen so many great artists in Uganda. I have seen so many great artists in Uganda destroy their careers and their lives because of weed. Instead of listening to these things that I keep dropping one by one, today, if I may ask you young people, why do you think when Jeff promotes an artist, if that artist leaves Jeff, it's very difficult for them to think so? It's because you refuse to understand what is Jeff's strength. Jeff's strength is friends with DJs, friends with owners of. When he goes back to his social capital, when he has a new artist, he will tell his friends that stop playing the old. That's why when you leave Swang's Avenue has a budget that only pays for artists in there. They don't pay for artists who have left Swang's Avenue because those artists will be competing with the new artists. So the budget will go on the new artist. So Swang's Avenue as a management or a record company will go and say, please remove all the previous songs from the playlist. Now load these new songs. It is as easy as that. That's what I meant. So as an individual artist, I can do the same. That I was supporting so and so, but now I don't. Please. So I want you artists to take this as fun, not as a street, it's a business. Did my interview with Desope in the UK. I was so heartbroken me, and he was right. The Ugandan artists started to go to the UK, to London, as much as the Nigerian artists were going there. Actually, I can guarantee you that there is no Nigerian who had a club. The clubs were owned by Ugandans. One of ours was Charlie Rubega, who owned, it was called, even the Nigerians were having their nights in there. But there is no single Ugandan artist webalinga batutwala agenda ku Friday na kola media